Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you everyone here in person and on Zoom to this lecture and schmooze. As you know, we started our weekly schmooze where we meet every Tuesday at 12 o'clock for bagels, lox, and schmooze, where people come together and just schmoozing. And typically, we don't have a lecture because that's the whole point, is just to get to know each other and schmoozing and and connecting as a community. However, today is Thursday, and we had to push it up because of the storm. And today is going to be the last schmooze of the season. We're taking a little of a break till after the holidays. Let's stay tuned for the next schmooze as they are going to happen again.
Are you doing Thursdays?
No, just today because of it was supposed to be on Tuesday, this
On
lecture.
Tuesday?
Yes, Tuesday, 12 o'clock, but we're taking a break. So if you come next week, bring your own bagel. By the way, this topic is combating anti-Semitism, and the solution to combating anti-Semitism is bagels, lox, and schmooze. Simple as that. We sit together and talk, and dialogue is actually probably one of the most strongest way we can help push that back. We're very honored today to have a very unique guest, and she's not a guest, she's really family. Dr. Professor Chana or Anna Geifman, her mother, Rita, lives in our community. She went with her grandson with our summer camp, that's Bill session, to jump fun, to have some fun. So if you see a grandmother and grandson jumping somewhere in Sarasota, that's her mother. And but we want to thank Rita and Anna for coming. Anna grew up in Russia and moved to Boston, became a professor at Boston University, and then did the jump to do Aliyah to Israel. Today she's a very famous lecturer, professor in Israel, Bar Ilan University. So if you're thinking about the Jewish people, about the Jewish homeland, in the Jewish homeland, what is the most greatest place in Israel? Jerusalem. And in Jerusalem, who are the people that are driving the driving force for the Jewish people? Our leaders, our teachers, our rabbis, our professors in the academic world, in the rabbinic world, in the Jewish world, in the Israeli army. So it's to us, it's a real just a pleasure, but a gift from heaven to have Anna here to share with us her perspective. Without further ado, let's give a hand to.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. It's great to be here, period, because I've, my mom lives here. It's amazing. We haven't seen her for 2 years. And it's almost like a miracle that suddenly you can jump on the plane and come, and it's like a big deal, 12 hours. It's not such a big deal, And then to be in America again, I made Aliyah in 2007. So since then, I've been living in Israel and in Jerusalem and teaching in the university, and speaking English less and less and less. I mean, I write in English all the time because I publish, but speaking is because I speak Hebrew most of the day, and teaching, and so it's an amazing feeling, sort of like you're coming back to this kind of thing that you almost forgot. And in Israel, you hear all these things that are going on in the mirror, all this, the COVID and the politics and blah 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 and all those things. You think, oh my God, where am I going? Where am I taking my almost 5-year-old? This is crazy, I don't know. And then you come here to Florida, it's nice, it's really nice, the weather, the people, we were riding our bikes and the bike broke, and all those neighbors running around, one neighbor, with the screwdriver, another neighbor, my God, it's like back in the day, you know. It's really, it's a really good place to be. Anyway, so thank you so much for the hospitality, and thank you for so much for being so nice and so welcoming. So, and then unfortunately, I'm going to talk about the topic which is not very, you know, we're going to try to make it the best of it, because this is a very Jewish thing, by the way, to do, right? To take something really not good. And why is it Jewish? Because, you know, we believe in tikkun olam. Tikkun olam is, you know, I don't know, I'm sure you know what it is. It's you taking something which is not perfect, or not complete, or not finalized, and still has major flaws, and you turn it, you work on it, and you turn it into something maybe not good. You cannot make anti-Semitism good, you know, obviously it's horrible, but you take it, you make it meaningful. You make something meaningful, you are already making a step forward, you know. And that's what I'm going to begin with, you know. The fact that, you know, when I started preparing for this talk, and I wrote a little bit about this. I'll tell you one little thing about myself in a bit. I'm what's called psychohistorian. I've been trained as historian. As a historian, I went to Harvard and did my PhD in history. And then, you know, I was trained as classical historian, you know, the Harvard School and all that. And then, you know, I started doing research, started teaching, and then little by little, I realized that's not how it's going to work. Why? Because historians typically don't, they ask what happens, right? What happened in the past, and they ask how it happened, and they go to archives, they go to libraries, they research, and they write all these things. And then I realized, you know, that the key question that any, as you point out, you know, any scientist, any scholar asks is why? What's at the essence? And historians and other social scientists don't ask this question. Why? I completely understand where they're coming from. Because we don't know. A person died 500 years ago. How are we gonna, you know, if a psychologist wants to find out why a person feels in a particular way, behaves in a particular way, his needs and his inner drives, he invites him to talk about it. You know, he sits with him, and the dialogue, the interview, you know, depending on the school of psychology, you know, but there's a dialogue. I can't put Julius Caesar on the couch and ask him about his relationship with his mom. You know, he died like a long time ago. You know, Lenin, Stalin, Hitler, you know, all the crazy ones, you know, I can't find out what they thought. But it doesn't mean that you don't have to do it. Because just like, you know, psychologists say every single person, I don't know, psychologists say up to 70% of what drives our behavior is subconscious. Okay, let's say not 70%, let's say 50%, let's say 30%, doesn't matter. We still cannot have a complete picture of human behavior and social behavior and mass behavior, the group behavior, until we get to the bottom of it. The problem with anti-Semitism, and this is what I realized when I started researching it and preparing for the talk, is that there's zero discussion, you know, of what anti-Semitism is. What do people talk about? You know, and of course, this topic is, how many times have people talked about anti-Semitism since 5,000 years ago? I don't know, you know, thousands of years, you know. People talk about, you know, Jew hatred, how Jews are hated, how Jews are despised, how Jews are persecuted, how Jews are attacked. What are they talking about? They're talking about several things. First of all, they talk about how all these accusations, the libels, the claims, they can just, how this is not true. Okay. So, for example, I don't know, that Jews are, the Jews are racist, say. This is a pretty modern accusation. What a ridiculous thing to say. Jews, you know, this is the only religion where, well, I shouldn't say the only, one of the few religions where anyone who wants to join is welcome. How is it racist? It's not limited to somebody who is by blood because his mom or grandmother or great grandmother is Jewish. Anyone who wants to become a Jew can. Which side of the racist theory is why is it racist? Jews are accused of being, I don't know, bloodthirsty. Yeah, I mean, there are millions of accusations of what the Jews are supposed to. And how are the Jews bloodthirsty? If you look at any of the enemies of the Jews who would kill the Jews, if you take the Crusaders believed that they were Christian. They were believing in turning the other cheek. If you ask them, do you believe in turning the other cheek? Yes. And we all know what they did during the Crusades. It was just absolutely not only to the Jews but to the Muslims. We all know how the Israeli army behaves. How the Israeli soldiers risk their lives to save the enemy citizens of the enemy states. And so what happens is, Jews are accused, Jews are bloodthirsty, they're baby killers, And so what do? People who talk about antisemitism, they say, no, look at the picture of this young girl who's a 5-year-old girl who is given water by you've seen this picture, I'm sure, who is given water by an Israeli officer. Look, we're not baby killers. Yes, you are. No, we're not. Yes. What kind of discussion is that? Okay, so that's one. The other line of discussion about anti-Semitism is how the Jews have always been disliked. How back in, I don't know, 4,000 years ago, the local inhabitants of Canaan hated the Jews. Okay, and then I don't know, all these other people who fought the Jews again when the Jews were here, of course, the Egyptian slavery. Oh my God, yeah. And then all these people whom the Jews fought before entering the land. And then of course the Greeks came. Oh my God, how they hated the Jews. And then the Romans, and then the diaspora, and in diaspora, whoever did not stage a pogrom against, and that's what the discussion is all about. And then all the way, the Nazis and the Soviets and the jihadists, and all the way to today. What's happening today? It's not even. I remember how just a few years ago I was giving lectures on the jihadism being the continuation of the Holocaust. I remember I was in Krakow in Poland giving a lecture on how jihad today is a continuation of what Hitler was doing based on what they say, on what the jihadists themselves say. Today, we're not even talking about that. We're talking about how the political extremists on the left, really, radicals on the left, anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli because of various things that Israel supposedly does. So the discussion is always either about why it's not true what the Jews are accused of, and how it's always been not true, how it's anti-Semitism is perpetual, how it's always the same story. And then the third line, is what? What are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about it? Nothing. If it's perpetual, it always happens since time immemorial. What are we going to do about it? Nothing. But still, should we have self-defense? Should we buy weapons? Should we not? Should we try to talk to anti-Semites and try to convince them that we're not that bad, maybe, or not as bad as they think, or maybe apologize? And so we see all the time how so many Jews today are trying to decide what their position will be in the face of growing anti-Semitism. By the way, I should say, I'm not going to get into the numbers and things like that, but the latest I've heard about Europe, about England, for example, in 2020, 2021, in England, just one country, as an example, in one country in England, anti-Semitism increased by 600 times. Okay, this is I forget who I think it's Ruth. I think it's Ruth Weiss who said that, and she's very, very precise. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, this is not even France or Germany where you have the extreme you have the political issues and the racial issues. It's really England is it was not 300 but 600%. It's crazy. In America, figures vary. I heard latest I heard was 60%, and we're not talking about how somebody doesn't like a Jew and he said that you are such and such. We're talking about attacks, violent outbursts, organized assaults, things like that. Not just like blah blah blah, but real anti-Semitic actions. So I can totally relate to the fact that many people are, many Jews are concerned, that many people are, the fact that what happened in Boston last Thursday, that a person in, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a person is assaulted in the broad daylight, and he had black belt and all that, he knew how to defend himself. But the very fact that this will happen, and not aside from the Jewish circles, very little discussion, as if it's like okay, things happen. It is a matter of concern, and I personally have to tell you, I came here when I was 14. Came to America when I was 14 from Russia. Of course, all those Russians who are in the audience here know exactly that. By the time you're 14, you are entirely aware of what anti-Semitism is, and what you do in Russia, you fight. Because that's how you brought up. At least me, at least in our family. I was explained at the age of 4 when I was told in my kindergarten, in my playgroup, that by the kids, that my last name, which is Geifman, is abnormal. That's what they said. Because it's not a Russian last name. It's not Ivanov, with the old E at the end. It's not normal. So I came home and my dad, I said, why is our last name abnormal? He said, who told you that? The kids. And he said he didn't, he said something that he didn't swear, he didn't curse, he just said something like dismissed it in a way that I understood that he thought that people who say those things, they're just like dirt, like don't even, I mean, their opinion matters absolutely doesn't matter. And that's one thing. And the second thing that I got from his reaction was that if you, and he later on explained to me, that if you don't show them that you are stronger, smarter, and can beat the heck out of them, and pretty crazy, really crazy. If you have to show that you're not gonna take anti-Semitism, it's going to be worse and worse and worse and worse, and you have no right to do this, to allow this, because you have a little sister to take care of. That was the message. So I came to this country and I was completely prepared to behave in the same way. Somebody just smacked his face, And in America, there's no anti-Semitism in America. There was, when I grew up, there was none. I heard one time my entire life in America, I heard someone who was really, really drunk going down the street and mumbling something against the Jews who are taking over the world. But he was really drunk. That's one time. He wasn't aggressive. He was just complaining about life, So that's, for me, it's completely new and completely unbelievable. I cannot imagine that this is really happening. Anyway, so as psychohistorian, I have to tell you, this is not, we're not going to talk about how the Jews are not guilty of eating children alive. this. We're not going to talk about how it's always has been like this and it always will be like this. It's obvious. We're not going to talk about what to do. I will maybe mention a little bit, about possibilities, what we're facing, but we're not going to develop this time. What I really want to do is to talk about something that is not discussed at all, which is what is anti-Semitism. Before we talk about what to do about this, we need to get to the essence of it. What is it? It's been around forever. It's been around as long as Jews have been around, which is forever. And it's not even, we don't understand what it is. Why the Jews hate it, and who are the haters, and what if it's a perpetual phenomenon, if it happened back 4,000 years, 4,500 years ago, and goes on to this day, and people of different nationalities and different geographical locations and different beliefs and different national backgrounds, everything, different ideologies, all have been guilty of anti-Semitism. Maybe there's something that unites them. Maybe there's something at the basic beneath the surface. They're all different. They're all different. The Greeks, ancient Greeks who hated the Jews, are different from Hitler. They are different, but maybe on the surface. But maybe there's something that is maybe we should talk about this. Maybe we'll understand the phenomenon better if we know about the essence. Okay. Okay. By the way, I wanted to say that if you have any questions, I'm a professional teacher. If you stop me, doesn't bother me at all. If you say that I'm totally wrong, doesn't bother me at all. So I'm not wrong, totally. I'm used to this. So please feel free to stop me. If I want to leave your comment for the end, I will remember it. Don't worry, I won't forget. I'll remember. If I, maximum, I'll write myself a note. But so don't worry about stopping me or interrupting me or telling me that this is not the right thing to say. Whatever. Okay, so before we go on, I just wanted to mention another very important thing, that aside from the anti-Semites who hate the Jews, okay, who are actively promoting all kinds of arguments in the academic world, in the meeting, or just rumors, doesn't matter. There's a huge audience out there that is hungry for the information. It's supply demand kind of thing. If I were to talk to you about what's going on in New Guinea today, you would, there's no demand. You don't want to hear this. You want to hear about what you care about, what's important, what's close to your heart. Okay. By the way, I also learned this very long time ago. You learn something in school because you have to. You forget the minute you get a 95 on your exam. What was that I was learning yesterday? Ooh, gone. Unless it speaks to your soul, unless it's important to you emotionally, then you can remember 35 years later. If it's emotionally important, you will remember intellectually. You'll remember the arguments. You will remember the counter arguments. Because human being is not just his brain. It's about it's much more complicated than that, and a huge part of it is his or her soul. Okay, so there's a huge audience out there hungry for every bit of bad publicity about the Jews. Okay, and the anti-Semitic media or propaganda, whatever you want to call it, promotes the nourishment, gives the food to the hungry people. Okay, so the logic is like this: person is, and that's been recently, there's been discussion about this, that there's something utterly irrational about anti-Semitism. It's totally irrational. You know, there's so many examples of this, of how there's no logic, there's no rhyme or reason to this. What's a good example? Jews are accused of being rich. Okay. At the same time, in other places say these Jews, they have, I don't know, 15 children, each family, they're spreading poverty. Well, you make up your mind what you hate Jews about. You know, there's no logic here. Or I love this. I love the Soviet example. It's my favorite example. You know, Stalin makes you think about it. People who lived, you probably remember this. Jews were accused of two things at the same time: of ruthless cosmopolitanism, that the Jews are cosmopolitans, and at the same time that they're bourgeois nationalists. And the two things work. I mean, no problem. And people went to prison and died for that because they were both. Can you imagine? I mean, there's no, it's completely irrational. Jews go out of the way to make their food free of all blood. Even, correct me if I'm wrong, we go, I mean, if an egg has whatever, tiny piece of blood, we throw it away. We don't do that. Okay. What's the greatest accusation against the Jews? You tell me.
Yeah.
What do we use the blood for? To make matzah out of Christian children, good stuff. I mean, it's completely crazy, but it doesn't bother anyone. Why? From the point of view of psychology, why it doesn't matter? Because it's not here. There's a deep need to hate the Jews, and that's been said. That's been said. There are people out there that are there's hunger for the accusations, for the bad things, for the bad publicity for the Jews, because they want to have those facts, not facts, but the justification, exactly. So the logic is, I believe the most ludicrous misinformation about Jews and Israel, by the way, because as a center of Judaism, as a core and the heart of Judaism, and as the national homeland of the Jews, I believe all the craziest accusations about the Jews in Israel, because it confirms my basic belief that Jews are bad. So the logic is it's first the belief, first the need to get things to believe, to know that the Jews are bad. And then of course all those justifications and the rationalizations are well, so at the bottom of this is the psychological need, which I will explain, but it's very important to understand that we're talking about it has nothing to do with the facts. Okay, or the facts are there to justify the belief system. We're talking about a belief system. We're talking about almost like a religion, almost like a religion. So you can say anti-Semitism is a belief system, almost like a religion, almost like a creed. And all the information, misinformation, disinformation, the ludicrous lies are so welcome. So as long as they nourish the need, provide the supply, they are welcome. There's so many. I mean, I don't even, the classic anti-Semitic Christian argument, Jews kill Jesus. Okay, Jesus was a Jew. It doesn't matter. They killed him. They didn't kill him. No. They just didn't kill anybody. No, it has nothing to do. Yeah, they did. How no, they haven't. They were not even in power at the time. It doesn't matter. Well, we still, because you still because you want to. It's not. It's because you want. It's very childish. It's very underdeveloped. It's very silly. It's not silly. It's what's the word? It's very primitive. It's very unconscious. It's very it's subconscious. It's very not thought through. Person is completely unaware, and when we see radical anti-Semites who just like screaming stupid things and accusing all kinds of Jews of all kinds of things, one of the first things we see is how plebeian, how what's the word? How low grade, how unsophisticated, how stupid this thing is. But that's precisely because, not because each person may be stupid. There among the Nazis, we can talk about it later on. There's a book by, I forget the professor, Weinreich, Professor Weinreich, who wrote this really amazing book called the Nazi professor, Hitler's professors. Oh my God, you talk about the Nazi intellectuals supporting anti-Semitism. They were very cultured, they were very intelligent, they were very sophisticated, but the stupidity that they believe and the eagerness with which they supported Hitler. I really recommend this work. You can, if you're interested in this kind of thing. It's called Hitler's Professors. Not to mention other things. Not to mention, there's a very famous work by called The Nazi Doctors. I don't recommend it because you're not going to sleep for a month after you read this. I assigned it for classes, and it's great. It's about medical stuff that was done to the Jews in the camps and elsewhere. And these doctors were super intellectuals. They were doctors with highest degrees and profession, not just doctors, but scientists. Joseph Mendele was a scientist. First and foremost, he was a Nazi scientist, but he was a scientist. So it's not a matter of spirit, but the willingness of an intellectual, and a person who knows the answer to what 3 times 2 is. He's been educated, but the willingness to accept stupidity is understandable if we understand this as a psychological need. Okay, the brain rests when there's a psychological demand. Okay. By the way, today when they talk about extreme left, when they talk about the Zionism being a form of racism, white supremacy, honestly, I'm not very familiar with the lexicon of today's extreme left. But seriously, I can't. To me, it's like language under the Bolsheviks. Seriously, I cannot speak the gibberish. But I know that expression of the racism and white supremacy. There's a huge audience out there. There's a huge audience of people who are willing to listen to this nonsense, and the jihadist propagandists are willingly supply the information. Jews do this, Israelis do that, Israelis kill, and so this information is so welcome, precisely because there's this inner demand. Okay, and this is where basically we need to talk about psychology. Okay, the psychology. Just before I miss something. Okay, just before we talk about psychology, one last note. where did the Jews come in here? What's the Jewish position? The Jews, the main thrust of the Jewish effort was what? To say, no, we're not like that. No, we're not baby killers. We're not bloodthirsty. We don't use Christian children's blood for matzah. We don't do this kind of thing. Okay, and other things. We mean well. Look, we're creating this entire civilization as part of the Judeo-Christian civilization where we've contributed so much. So what's the answer to all this craziness? Is to prove themselves unworthy of hatred. The Jews, what are the Jews doing? They try to, we're not like, we're unworthy to be hated. Okay? Which is futile, because anti-Semitism is not directed against a policy, be it Israeli policy or whatever else, whatever policy. It's not directed against the behavior of the Jews. If the Jews decide to have 15 children or not have children done, he'll be accused of, being egotistical or spreading poverty. It has not. Or if there's a Jewish intellectual, he's a lazy bum who doesn't do anything. He just blah 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 blah. Here, if there's a Jewish, dock worker, he's an idiot. I don't know. There are all kinds of. If you want the argument, you can get it. You can find it. The point that the Jewish position is wrong. The Jewish position is to try to prove to the anti-Semites that we are not worthy to be hated and attacked. Is to accept the argument, the basic argument of the anti-Semites. That's not what the Jews are supposed to be doing. But what they should be doing, we'll get to, hopefully. Okay. All right. All right. So let's get to the psychology. Okay. The first thing that I need to talk about is that anti-Semitism is always a projection. What's projection? What's a projection? It's a projection is when I don't know, if I see somebody who comes in and we start talking 5 seconds after we start talking, I think, oh my God, this person she's so stingy about money or whatever. That means, first and foremost, this is what I am. If I've noticed about the other person with whom I haven't even been close, first, if I notice the first thing, you know how, like, you meet the person who projects, who's I don't know, who thinks good about people, who thinks that everyone is great. You can be 99.9% sure that this person is good, is a good person, because that's how he sees the world. In psychology, projection is basically, it's an eye of the beholder, basically. Okay, if you see, I always tell my students, what about the objective reality? You can talk about objective reality, but basically, you and I come to the window one fine morning, and you say, check this out. Look at the sunny day. It's beautiful and it's wonderful. And I'm like, and look at this wonderful town, and everyone is so nice. And I'm like, I woke up with after an argument with my neighbor, and I have a headache. And what are you talking about? Look at this gray sky. It's going to rain in 5 minutes. And as people are under, what's the truth? It's what I am and what I project onto the reality. Okay, anti-Semitism is always the projection of what's within the heart, in the soul of the anti-Semite. We need to be absolutely clear about this. Okay, the worst evils that pointed to about the Jews, we can be completely sure that this is that they're basically, they are listing all this stuff that they're filled with that they're filling their hearts, the souls. Okay. Let me give you one example. It's actually pretty amazing. The protocols of the Zion elders. who hasn't used the protocols of Zionism to show how the Jews are, out to conquer the world? Okay, let's see who used it. The Russians, the Nazis, the jihadists. Okay, let's talk about it. Who, we don't have the time to. This is my one of my specializations, Russian political psychology, Russian history, and historical psychology, and the traditional culture. I just have to, we can talk about it later on, but basically, according to the Russian national ideology, it's the Russians who are to control the world, because Moscow is a new Jerusalem, and there's a whole ideology of the Moscow's the third Rome, that they're going to bring salvation to the mankind, and they're always at the forefront of redemption, all that stuff. Russian Orthodoxy is it. Okay. Protocols of the Zionist elders. The Jews are out. There's a cabal. The Jews are out to control the world. Excuse me. Look at your sources. Look at what you're saying about this, what you believe about yourself. To this day, we can talk about it. It's very interesting, actually, how Russians are, why they're doing all those political things. Very irrational sometimes, but in terms of the idea that they're supposed to control the world, that idea drives them forward to this day. Okay, next come the Nazis. Nazis, no question about it, right? Nazis, what was Hitler want? The main idea wanted to conquer the world, build, for the master race, and all that nonsense, right? So the German, the Aryan race is a master race. It's going to control the world. All these other people are going to be either killed or enslaved. Why? Protocols of the Zionist. It's complete rejection. The jihadists, maybe I have a quote here, a couple of quotes. What they say about the infidels. Maybe I don't. I just remember some of them by heart because this is my other specialization. My main area of research is terrorism, modern political history and psychology of modern terrorism. So, this guys, I'm intimately familiar with this guys. So they say, the saying, of course, that jihad is the path to control, to get rid of the world. Get rid of the infidels who control the world, of course, Jews being at the forefront of the infidels, but also the Christians. And the world is all these territories which have been under the laws of Sharia must, according to the ideology, go back to the control of Islam. So in 2050, America will be under the Sharia law. Excuse me, wait a second. Whoa. America has never been under the Sharia. Doesn't matter. Still, it will be. Just one of the most interesting things about the mentality is that they're not in a rush. They're not very modern in that sense. They're not totally not modern. If the modern mentality, the postmodern is like, I want this and I want it now. Now, like all the like a child, like I want this candy. No. We're willing to wait. Let them cook in their own postmodernist culture or whatever. Let them do the drugs and let them kill each other. And then when they really we're gonna take over. But the idea of taking over the world is there. And then what do they say about the Jews? Why has it ever occurred to anyone why Iran hates the Jews so much? Israel. Why? Thank God we don't even have a common border with them. Have we ever done anything to them? In 2000, whenever they had this huge earthquake in 2008, I don't remember, between 20,000 to between 20 and 40,000 people died in Iran. Okay, of course, Israel is big. We know stuff about them. We've helped there and then helped, we are willing to help you. Can we send special? They're willing to accept any aid from any country, but not from why? It's completely irrational. 40,000 up to 40,000 Muslim will die. Let them die. Let them die. It's not, doesn't matter. As long as it doesn't, the aid help doesn't come from the Jews, from the Israelis. Why? Because they want the domination. They want to dominate the world. And they project onto the Jews, in this case, they in Israel, the desire to them. Israel doesn't want to dominate anything. We don't know what to do with ourselves. we are so busy with ourselves. My mom was like, haven't you seen the news? You don't know what's going on in there. Mom, we are so busy with what's happening in our kindergarten, because things happen, but we're so, Jews are so, we're very active, we're very busy. And so I don't have time for this, for the what's happening in Nebraska. Anyway, but it's very important that this is every time there's anti-Semitism, being on a personal level, the group level, the state level, or the national level, it's always a projection, which is very interesting if you think about it. That psychological rules that work for a human being, individual, they work at the group level, and they work at the national level. It's very, I'm as a psychohistorian, I'm very impressed. So, I'm not just taking my salary, I'm actually doing something worthwhile. So, all right. And by the way, which is also very important to be aware of. There's no other nation, excuse me, in the world that has been accused of trying to take over. Not one. Okay? Of taking over the world as a conspiracy theory. The Jews are, somewhere. What's the accusation? They're part of the Hollywood that they're and through the, or they're part of they're infiltrating everywhere, and they're trying to take over the world. Why? There's never been a group. Not in the ancient times, not in the Middle Ages, not in the modern times, not postmodern. There's never been another group who's been accused of secretly trying to take over the world by those who are projecting it onto them. Okay, so okay, what are they projecting? They're projecting their own desire, their own plan, real plan, not just some kind of conspiracy, but real plan that they're talking about, that is out there on paper, in their ideology, on the radio, television podcast, that they have a different plan for this world. They have different plans. It's not one universal plan. The Nazis wanted one thing. The Soviets want another thing, the jihadists want something else, the postmodernist radicals want something else, but they all have their own plan for this world. And they know how to do it, and they want to do it, okay? Now, so why the Jews? Why this particular group? Because we are the occupiers. It's true what they say. We're not occupying a territory. We're not out to get a geographical land, or a geographical locality. We're not into that. But we are. What have we occupied? We occupied the moral ground. Okay, we have taken what they want, because as long as we exist, there's no room for Hitler's ideology. There's simply no room. Okay, of all people, by the way, the Soviets knew that as well. The Soviets knew, Stalin knew this as well. Jihadists, some, you know, but Hitler was, he was, you know, with the whole idea of final solution and all that, he really knew what he was doing. And he was extremely articulate in explaining why he hated the Jews. So maybe for a change, we should listen to him. Because, you know, he's a raving lunatic, he's yelling, screaming, people are hysterical, boring, not interesting. You know, he's used whatever hysterical diagnosis he had to inspire the hysteria in the millions of Germans. Okay. But what he said is interesting. And what he wrote is interesting. And what he said in private is interesting. What did he say? The Jews Jews have the mission. It's true. Yeah, we do have the mission. People, many Jews are unwilling to accept that, and they want to ignore it. But when the Jews appeared in this world, they appeared with the mission. Without the mission, we were a tribe. We were not a nation. When did we get the mission? When we left Egypt. When we left Egypt, stopped being slaves, got the law, the Sinai message, got the Musar, what's the word? The ethical code, exactly. Okay, and found ourselves in a particular geographical locality where we were supposed to realize the mission, fulfill it. That's what I meant. Fulfill the when all the components were there. Before that, we were a bunch of family, you know, extended family, tribe, whatever you want. But we were not the people. And, you know, of course, there were some people who disliked Jews, you know, disliked that particular family of the forefathers. But that's different. That's not, you know, that's different from the ideological anti-Semitism. You know, they didn't, the Egyptians wanted to enslave us. Okay. But that's not the systematic, perpetual, ongoing, everlasting anti-Semitism. As the second, we you know, we have what's the mission? First of all, the whole idea of God. Without, I mean, I don't know, it's very politically correct to say that. I'm really sorry, but without God, we're not a nation. Why not? You know, what defines us as a nation, as a covenant, as a breed? Those who don't want to acknowledge it, they're still Jews, in my eyes at least. I don't know, some people say, no, they're Jews, historically, traditionally, but they're children. But the grandchildren, for sure not, God forbid. I had this huge argument with my niece yesterday about on the phone. She's in New York, and she's like, so the most important thing is to be happy. It's like, no. What do you mean it's supposed to be whatever? For you, the most important thing is to be happy. You know, I really want you to be happy, but you have responsibility. What? It's, you know, postmodernist idea, freedom without responsibility. The Jewish notion is totally different. Yes, freedom, absolutely. Why freedom? Why am I saying the Jews? The Jews are and Hitler knew this. Hitler said Jews invented conscience. Conscience. Jews invented, that's what Hitler said. The Jews should be killed because they're the ones who invented the morals. True, absolutely, I agree. Ethics, you know, exactly. But they also, you know, the Jews also invented freedom. Why? Because we freely accepted the responsibility. You know, freedom is it's a complete, you know, you know, your rabbi will be much more eloquent about that. But you know, but it's the whole 9 yards, you know, the entire spectrum of ethics and the point of view and the message but it's based without those aspects. The Jewish nation, it may exist, you know, sort of somewhere in the fringes, but it's one class. And the only reason why we've lost it is there's I'm sure you've heard this one zillion times. you know, we don't speak the same language. You know, what connects me to some Jewish person in New Zealand? We don't have, you know, before Israel, of course, you know, but you know, we didn't speak the same language. I was a Jew in Russia. Somebody else was a Jew in New Zealand. You know, we were geographically separate. We didn't speak the same language. We didn't know each other. What? You know, we didn't have the same country before 1948. What is, because we had the mission, we had the dream, we had the prayer that this is how it's supposed to be. We remember we also had the same history, of course. And if we don't have it, then there's no nation. We don't just and that's what, and precisely that history, tradition, message, mission. What's the mission? We say, you know, in the Jewish prayer, Aleinu, we say that we are here to perfect the world under God. Oh, nobody's hiding anything. We just say this is what we're doing. Why are we doing this? Because that's what God wants. We're we're just freely accepting this. We have agreed to be in the, by the way, you know, the whole idea of chosenness, Hitler, of course, could not stand the idea of the, you know, us being the chosen nation. Why? Because, wait a second, where are we? What about the Aryan race? Well, excuse me, you're not in that book. You know, you're not, oops, you know, and there were many theologians who didn't know, to this day don't know what to do with this. Because, but by the way, you know, what's really important, the whole notion of chosenness is not it's not unique to the Jews. I mean, they were in Greek mythology, Greek gods had their favorites. You know, this whole Trojan war, you know, some gods favored the Trojans, and the other gods favored the Greeks. Big fight. It's not the question. It's the Jewish exclusivity and the chosenness and the is in the brit, in the covenant, which the Jews have freely accepted. Okay, it's the relationship. The people in the Greek mythology or any other pagan mythology didn't, you know, there was no relationship. Gods had their little fight, and a group of gods won, and the other group lost, and so people, oops, wait a second, we are in the flood here. There's no connection. There's no agreement. There's no freedom. There's this goral. How do you say? How do you say goral? It's the rock на русском. Как сказать? Rock. It's like, yeah, the people are subject to.
If I can maybe just elaborate on the word chosenness, which is something we all sometimes feel uncomfortable when people say you're the chosen people. So the definition, and I think that's what you're trying to say, is that we were chosen to be a light unto the nation. We were chosen as a people, as a nation, to teach morality, to teach the values.
Exactly, and also
Not that we are better.
It has nothing to do with work. If anything, it's my God. I talked to just recently. I talked with a friend of mine about this. Oh my God, you know, the non-Jews, they don't have any of this mitzvot, I wake up and in the morning, you do all those things. Every single, you can't sneeze without, you know, knowing how to use, you know. Who wants that? Well, you know, you got it. You know, you got it. You got it as a package. You want to be in a relationship with God. This is what, you know, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And also, you know, not a little thing. How do you raise your children? You raise your children, other people, you say, have fun. You know, you want happy kids, chocolate, you know, but playing, you know, jumping, whatever. You know, I don't know. You know, you Jews with is this going to make him? Is this educational? Not educational. 25,000 times a day. Should I say this? Should I say that something is bad? Should I make him aware that there's this bad aspect in the world, or should I keep the world pure and beautiful for him? And it's this, you know, it's the responsibility is crazy. You know, the chosenness comes with incredible work and incredible responsibility. not because we're better, it's because we just have this mountain, amount of things to do. That's where the but they but
we're just about getting over time in the summer. The kids are all about
The
to jump in here.
let me just like
Yeah, so,
finish very
conclude with the,
very this is it's great. Okay, so we do take the moral space. We have occupied the moral. Okay, onto which the anti-Semites cannot project themselves, they can't, it's taken. It's they want the world is still operating under the Jewish, Judeo-Christian, whatever you want to call it, under the biblical notions. Okay, they cannot take this. The exclusiveness, same thing. They cannot, they want, they want to be, the Soviets wanted to be the chosen nation of the proletariat, whatever they call themselves, can't, because there's only one relationship, chosen nation. Okay. Okay. Any ism, if you like, any ideology, be it Islamism, be it postmodernism, let's talk about postmodernism, same thing. They want freedom without responsibility. They want no truth. Truth, and according to radical postmodernist perspective, there's no truth, not to mention God. There's no truth. I choose to see myself in this way, and then this is my right to present my reality, or other people's right in particular. No, it's just that there's truth. And with this comes the obligation to look for it. Okay, now, it's clear why if we're incompatible with what I would call, and I'll be happy to answer the question. In my definition, all of these isms come as political paganism, just like the old Knights were pagans, just like the Greeks. Why did the Greeks in the Hanukkah story? Why did they hate us? They didn't hate any other nation because who cares? The Greeks were not militaristic. They could conquer the territory. They wanted the Jews to join in the fun. They wanted us to go to do the same thing. They were very accepting. We said, no, thank you. What? You don't accept our superior world? No, excuse me. Then So any pagan, any ism, any ideology, any modern political ideology is a form of politicized paganism. And which leaves us basically with very, very sort of interesting situation. You either do what's in Hebrew is Avodat Hashem, God's work, or you left with Avodah Zarah, which is paganism. There's no third choice. I mean, people can kind of wiggle out of this. The children will not survive that. The children will go either that way or this way. There's no other. So basically, we are all part of it. Very, very, that's crazy to think about this. We are all, every single one of us is a part of a very, very, very long story. We're still part of that back, when Abraham became the Jew. We're still part of that history, which is that we don't think about this every day. But each and every one of us is part of that story. And how we behave. According to the Jewish way, we are absolutely required to freely choose, to behave in a moral way, to be aware of what's at stake. That's the most important. So I'm going to stop and take questions. It's a complicated topic, it's a broad topic.
I think we need a 2-week lecture on this.
Yeah.
And maybe we can also have Zoom calls with you in Outer Jerusalem and elaborate. But Barbara had a question.
I have given this a lot of thought my entire adult life. Why the Jews have always been the group of people who were persecuted. I've come to two things. One is we all know, whoever we are, that the Jews are God's chosen people, and we're envious of that. I think down through history, every other people have been envious of the fact that they know, they understand that Jews are God's chosen people. I also think that in most cases where the Jews have been most horribly persecuted, they were the minority, and so they were the easiest group to persecute.
Well, you see, you know, there's so many minorities. You know what? Look at what happened in Rwanda. You know, there were two tribes. One got, you know, got the weapons, killed them. I mean, there was a Holocaust basically. But there's difference. There's a difference between what because it happened in one locality, and it was a horrible thing that they did, and Jews of all people sympathize, of course. But it's different from the said millennia long persistent, you know, and you're right. I'm not sure that in today's world, the people are aware that the Jews are the chosen nation. They have no clue about what's happening.
The Christians I know are very.
No,
much
yeah, of
aware.
course, but I mean, look at the kids, look at the you know, very young people who have not even heard of it, and yet, I go back to my earlier point. You know, the need is there. Why they're so anti-Israel? Why they're looking for reasons to accuse Israelis of being bloodthirsty? There's a deeper need. So it's not even thought through. It's you know
It's embedded.
Yeah, it's embedded.
So, you know, you summarize, you know, one of the insights. Yeah, so I guess when you think of this country, you felt there was no anti-Semitism. So I guess anti-Semitism needs to be taught, right?
Okay. What I want to say is actually it's a good point. You know, when
It needs to be taught to children at some
I'm
point.
not sure. I'll tell you why. I'm not sure. You know, all the Holocaust museums and all the
I don't
discussion.
think they help.
No, they make things worse, in my opinion. You know why? Because the Jews are portrayed as this weaklings, as you know, they're led to slaughter, and you know, so they're easy target, and they must deserve something because they're always persecuted. If we tell them, we Jews are, you know, pity doesn't help, self doesn't help at all. You know, we've always been persecuted. So what have you done to be persecuted? You must have done something. If everyone hates you, that means you must have done something. You know, it's some. I think the position of a Jew should be completely different. The way we should educate children, we should be doing something else. We shouldn't be warring.
What she's saying is that from the time, let's say from the 60s, big things happened here.
Right.
And rise of
Right.
She's connected to education.
I see what you're saying.
So
That,
anti-Semitism itself,
Yeah.
you know, it needs to be, maybe the intrinsic seats like, you know, on a genetic level, that's not.
Oh,
like it.
moving to the
well,
left.
I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Needs to be taught to people. because
You know,
said there was a great conflict.
I'll tell you what I think. I think American culture should be dealt separate. I agree with you. The reason why for the rise of anti-Semitism is radical postmodernism and all kinds of stuff. You know, all
Also, it needs to be taught.
it is, so it should be taught together. It should be, all those issues should be not separately, but this it's a complex issue. America is going through a particular phase or particular historical time
I'm
period.
not talking about America. Overall, what I'm saying is like for the anti-Semitism to blossom, it needs to be part of the stance of the society, or the part of the educational system. Like they take the kids, like, you know, Palestinians, send them to the summer camps and they drill into their mind, kill the Jew, you know, throw the bomb. So it needs to be, otherwise, you take a 3-year-old child who was not taught anything and let them play, they're not going to be anti-Semitic. So obviously,
Of course.
anti-Semitism
It's
is part
not
of
like-
ideological
Right.
of the society, but exception, anti-Semitism almost disappears.
But see, what I no, it never does. That's what I want to say. And there's nothing you cannot.
Goes away, I said it almost disappears.
It's you know, for 500 years in Spain, Jews had a blast until they stopped. Yeah, until this.
Well, Queen Isabel came and she said like it's the enemy of the Jews.
I don't-
So again,
I don't, you know, whatever it happened in Russia during the revolution, they also had a blast until, except those who were being killed during the Civil War, you know. But then they stopped. You know, What I'm saying is that it's this issue is not going to go away. It's not going to go away. We should be concerned.
So in your opinion, what should we
We
do?
we should be ourselves as much as possible. Really try to understand what it means to be Jews. Do everything possible that our children remain Jews, and that's so not trivial in a situation where of the diaspora. You know, how do you do it?
Our children to stay Jewish.
You raise them religious. You raise them with the bread. Raise them with first and foremost, you raise them with a mission. Because you know what I'm going to say? This is like so people don't talk about this. Children start going crazy when their world is meaningless. You know, they're looking for all kinds of, from drugs to God forbid to all kinds of crazy ideologies, God forbid, you know. But you give them meaning, you give them not stuff, you know, not just you be proud of being Jewish. It doesn't work. You give them the reason, the mission to wake up every morning and knowing that you have a job, you are important. You are so important because you have to make this world a better place under God. You know, otherwise, that's what we're trying to do. You know, God willing. Yeah.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, sure.
First of all, thank you very much for a very interesting lecture. But one question you not touch in your lecture. Anti-Semitism is very closely connected with pogroms. And pogroms, I hope that is hardest pictures in the history of Jewish life. Approximately not less than 2,000 years. If you talk about first pogrom in Alexandria in years 13. But that is long history. But for me, very interesting. I don't understand, maybe you can explain why Jewish people in their house, in their country, freedom people, alone. Arabic people organized pogrom 1 month ago.
Yeah, I know.
Why?
Because I'll tell you. Because even in Israel, even though you know, I entirely disagree with the notion that Israel is still a galut. It's not a galut. It's not diaspora.
No,
It's
three generation new. That is not
still
galut.
it's Eretz Israel. You know, it's a Adama Kedusha. You know, it's not galut. But galut gets brought in because Jews in Israel, many Jews in Israel, think that they want to be like all the normal people in the world out there. They want to be normal. They don't want the bread. They don't want the mission. They want to have fun. They want, like everyone else. They want to be normal.
They want to be accepted.
They want to be accepted. They want to be, you know, they do everything. They have no notion of history, by the way, and precisely because they're Israelis and they've been. They just, you know, they're so segregated, they're so separate, they're so in this very warm climate, in every sense of the word. You know, they've always been loved. They have no idea about the Shoah, about the Holocaust. They have no idea about the pogroms. They have no idea about the expulsions. They are clueless. They're very happy-go-lucky. So they want to keep being happy, not understanding that it's impossible. That's not part of the agreement. Part of the agreement, I'm with you, but you have to be with me. Jews have to be with God, so that He'll be with. And so and that's why it's not nice. It's not nice to use harsh force against the people who feel very frustrated. You see this here in this country. How many people are frustrated? Understand them. They're frustrated. As if it's a criterion. It's not a criterion, mind.
Look, Israel, that is Jewish people from different times. Fortunately, maybe the last 30 years, approximately 1 million, maybe a little more from Russia. And what I heard from my friend from Israel, a lot of people from Russia, Russian, they organize in defense.
Not only Russians. I mean, he knows because he's part of the Russian.
Yeah,
but I know the people who came from Hebron and other, you know, Russians.
This is a depend on background.
Let's do one more question.
Just one question. I just want to kind of thank you for making it very clear that you have basically choice between people. You speaking from monotheism, whether it's a Jewish
Mhm.
for that matter, or you are part of pagan.
It's politicized,
Absolutely. It is religious. Worship
It is
of
religious.
God.
And you know,
It's your
you know,
worship, it's continuous,
exactly. It's an old story. It comes back. It goes from the time
but
of
it's
the.
not as deep. It's not.
It's not. It's not at all. You know, so just different language is different, but the story is the same.
When I conclude, you can ask questions probably later, and thank you so much. This was very informative.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
You reminded me, if we can, it's a heavy topic, maybe we can end on a lighter note. Remind me of an anecdote there's this Jewish guy in Paris, and he sees a vicious dog biting a girl, and he goes and kills the dog, saving the girl. And there's a reporter there seeing it, and the reporter comes over to him and says, "Wow, you just saved this girl. Tell me, are you from Paris? We're going to write tomorrow's news headline is going to be Paris man saved girl from vicious dog." He says, no, I'm not from Paris. Okay, no worries. We're going to write French man saved the girl from this vicious dog. Says, no, I'm not from France. Where are you from? So from Israel. Okay, next the headline was Israeli kills dog. He gets
The
killed.
little girl's dog.
A little girl's dog. Yeah, exactly. So it's really killed changing the whole thing. Yeah, so, but and to her point, it's our job to learn ourselves who we are, to be proud of who we are, but more than be proud, being pride. It's easy to put a big flag and say I'm Israel Chai, but to actually learn who we are, our history, and this is what we're here for. This is really our mission here. And to convey that to our children and grandchildren, to the next generation. Thank you so much, Dr. Anna.
Thank you for having me.
And, wishing you the best.
With the COVID being there.